Hello, everybody. It's Charles Cannon, Certified Financial Planner here. We are here for our regularly scheduled uh, video this week, and we were going to cover the cons of staying fully market invested during retirement. Of course, we are seeing that number one thing is that markets go down. It's happening all around us right now because Japan is down 25% over the last 3 trading days. South Korea followed with a 30% down. In fact, they had to stop their market trading a couple of times. We are here on Monday, August 5th. The markets opened down around 4 to 5%. It's possible that we get a couple of those 15-minute market stops today if things continue to go down, although it's kind of leveled off. But it leads us to our number one con of being fully invested during retirement, and it's called sequence of returns risk. I encourage you to Google that phrase, sequence of return risk, because we always say here that income is the most important part of your retirement. If you are withdrawing your income from a fully invested market portfolio, Morningstar still tells you that about 3% is about the amount that you can afford to withdraw, and you can basically withstand any sort of market that we've had in the past, and you'll be bulletproof. But that's not very much, right? If let's say you're living off $100,000 a year, you got to have about $3 million invested to get 90 from your portfolio plus your Social Security. And after tax, there's your 100 grand, right? Well, that's not a very good return on the 30 to 40 years that you worked and saved, right? Saving for retirement is the easiest part of this whole thing, folks. Distributing that money during your retirement is something that you've got to pay more attention to. It's what we specialize in. It's how we're different from any other advisor you've probably ever talked to. Because most advisors are growth, growth, growth. We are income, income, income. If we can get you the income you need, regardless of what's happening in the market, you need that income if the markets are going up, the markets are going down, or they're sideways. Up, down, or sideways income is the way to have a healthy and wealthy retirement, folks. We can avoid sequence of return risk. The number one risk of that is during those last few years that you're working, and especially the first 5 years that you're retired. But when you add that all together, that's a decade. And in almost any decade, we're going to have 2 down years. The trick is, how do you know if you retire today that the next year or two doesn't have that minus 25 year in it, right? People who retired in 2020 or 2021, right after pandemic, maybe they got bought out at their company. And then 2022 was minus 24. And if they left all of their money, for example, in the Vanguard 500, their retirement is going to be cash poor compared to where they could be. Now, they might have been lucky, and we got that bounce back in 2023 and the first part here in 2024. And maybe they're back to where they were. But if they were withdrawing money every single month to fund their retirement, there were some very expensive months to get that money out, folks. And when you do that, when you're cashing in shares to meet your income needs, it's very hard to ever catch up. Most of you who have been to any of my webinars or seminars hear the story that I share with somebody that I met in 2012. And here's what happened. He retired in 2006. He told his wife, we've got 500,000 in the Vanguard 500, and it averages 8%, honey. And we only need 5%, because 5 times 500,000 was 25,000, and he needed 2,000 a month to cover his mortgage. Everything else was going to be paid for by his Social Security and her Social Security. Only what happened in 2008? His Vanguard 500 went down 38%, folks. His 500,000 was now 300,000 overnight, but he still needed his 25 grand a year. But only now it was between 8.5% and 9% of his total savings. He had to call his Edward Jones guy and tell him, get me out of the market, right? Because he's panicking. By the time I met him, his total nest egg was below 200,000. He's still healthy. He still has a longevity of 15 years at that point. And I had to tell him, sir, you've either got to go back to work and save more money, or you've got to cut expenses, which probably means selling this house, right? The biggest problem with that, and this is a guy, he had all the toys, right? He had a huge big Ram truck and a beautiful boat. And that was what they were doing with the Social Security money, is going around and playing on the boat every weekend they could. But they're also remodeling this big home they had. So now they're in the middle of a remodel, and I'm telling them, sir, you don't have enough money to sustain your lifestyle. You've got to think about selling this home or changing what your monthly need is somehow else. But the home's in the middle of a remodel, so now you can't even get top dollar for that, right? That's the problem you have when you let sequence of returns risk affect your retirement. I can prove to you the mathematics behind segmenting your retirement savings into income money and growth money, and how that is a more effective way to retire. All you have to do is click the button below, and let's make sure you're bulletproof from bad market downturns. This is Charles Cannon, Certified Financial Planner. I want you to remember, lifetime income is the most important part of your retirement. Bye now.